And then my agent would call me saying, okay, here's your time for Sailor Moon, and I'd say, I'm not going in after the night.
Because as she says, it stays in the room.
For weeks. Yes.
What are your favorite memories of recording Sailor Moon?
You know, if I may, I don't know. I can be one of those, I'm an actor. You know what, I enjoyed the experience because it was new for me. In terms of voice directing, I'd never voice directed before that. I was an actor, I did the voice of Grandpa Hino in Ray's grandfather. And I did a bunch of little voices here and there. I was like the go-to guy and do lines here. I was the delivery man, I was the, the whatever guy on the street, taxi driver kind of thing. And I was that one-offy kind of guy. And I was in, but I had the one role that had some meat to it. And I was in the studio doing that when the producer decided that the voice director wasn't, the previous voice director was not going to continue. Is that gentleman up? And turned to me and said, would you like to be the new voice director? And I had never even considered being a voice director before, but something inside me just said, take it. And I did, and it turned out to be a difficult job. It was an amazing learning experience, and that producer, and we sort of joke about her sometimes now, and when we're together, because she was a tough taskmaster, and she had her issues, and she was difficult to deal with at times. But ultimately, she got a good product out, and I still, to this day, use some of her system and color coding. This is like 20-odd years later, 25 years later, 23 years later. I'm still using part of her system to voice direct today. So that was a really cathartic moment in my career, and it was Sailor Moon based. That was really serious. Wow, after all my joking around, sorry. I didn't mean to.
I see a hand back there. You, yes.
When you first started out, when you heard about the voice acting positions, who did you originally want to go with?
Well, I don't know if anyone has heard this or if they were here yesterday, but Sailor Mars was my very first voice acting job or TV series that I'd ever done. So it's different for all of us. I think most of us auditioned for every single character, but when I went in there, I just auditioned for Sailor Mars and got super lucky. So that was my experience.
And my experience was that I wanted to be Sailor Moon. Yeah, and it didn't work out. But everybody wanted to be Sailor Moon because at that time, all the cartoon or the animated projects, and we called them cartoons in those days, so don't be offended, anyone. This was way before anime. And all the female parts were the same. Nice young thing. Hello, how are you doing? Very soft, very gentle, that sort of thing. Or they did little boys. Oh, I can't believe it! I got a home run! So I was doing that sort of thing. And then Sailor Moon came along, and all the characters were real. So we would see the drawings of the character when we went into audition. We read some of the dialogue, of course, that we would be using during the audition. And I said to myself, this is really, really revolutionary. It's different. And I thought, I would really like to play Sailor Moon because she had the most lines. That's what you really want. And after I found out that I didn't get Sailor Moon, and my agent said, you were booked, so you got a character called Sailor Jupiter. So I'm going back through my notes, and I'm looking, and I said, oh yeah, she was the one who always wore green, and she liked horses, and her sign was Sagittarius, and I really liked her. I think she was the closest to me. So, in real life. So what happened was, it seems as if, and we were talking about this last night, when they were casting, they tried to get the actor or actress who most closely resembled the character as it appeared in the original Japanese animation without the voice, right? Because the voices in the original were quite a bit different. I think quite a bit more higher pitched than the way that we went with it. So it was really interesting that they did it that way. And I think it's one of the reasons that it worked, is because the performers playing the part the parts were actually quite close to characters. Katie in those days had Sailor Mars hair. She had dark hair down to her waist, and she wanted it, I can tell you that. And it was just amazing when I walked in and I saw her, and I thought, oh my God, she looks just like the drawing. It was amazing.
Hilarious, yeah. Yes.
It's not really a question, but I was bullied a lot when I was little, and Sailor Moon was one of the few things that actually helped me get through school every day, because I would come home and it would be on, and that would be the only thing that could calm me down. So I want to thank you guys.
I just want you to know that. We've had so many people reach out to us and say things that were very, very similar to that. And it's funny, we've been going across North America, and in different places, like in smaller towns, it was some of the things where people were all by themselves. And they were maybe on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and they had no friends that were really close to them, and they were sort of like, this is what I want. This is the friendship that I want. This is what I want to hold on to. And I think that so many of those people, why they loved it so much is because they found that later on in their life. They knew what to look for, and they held on to Sailor Moon for that reason, and they looked for those Lenas and the Rays and stuff that they could just be really good friends with. So you're not alone at all, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
Way back in the back.
I'm going to stand up.
Yeah, you are.
My name is Vanessa, and Linda, I don't know if you remember, but when I was about 11 years old, I was playing with my sister at a park in Toronto, and a mom was there with her daughter, and we were sitting and I was like, oh my God, that's Sailor Moon. Oh my God, that's Sailor Moon. And 11-year-old me ran over, and was like, hi, are you Sailor Moon? You said yes.
I didn't say I lost you. Go on.
It was the most magical moment of my life. You were so friendly and so happy and so nice, and that inspired me to get into voice acting. Thank you.
Was Linda dressed? Questions? We've got answers, so.
What was it like being in the show?
I can say right now, for me, it was terrifying. When I first started out, when I was first Sailor Moon, and I was like, yeah, I can do that, let's do this, yeah. And then I got the part, I was like, yeah, I just got the part of Sailor Moon. And then I went, oh God, I just got the part of Sailor Moon. Okay, I can do this. And it was really freaky, because I realized, wow, this is pretty huge. And I remember very clearly going down my basement stairs, my agent had phoned, I was like, really? And I went down the basement stairs, and my husband and his best friend Tony were in the basement. And I sort of sat on the stairs and I said, I just got the part of Sailor Moon. And my husband went, what? I said, Sailor Moon, I got the part of Sailor Moon. What part you get? Sailor Moon. And my husband's buddy Tony said, wait, you're doing Sailor Moon? And I said, yeah, I just got the part of Sailor Moon. Well, you better be good because my kids watch. That's when the kids walked in. So it was very terrifying for me, because those are big shoes to fill, I'll tell you that.
And I remember, because it was my first show too, and I'm just a competitive person by nature. I play a lot of sports, and it's just a competitive thing. Anyway, for any other job that we do, we have easy jobs and we have really tricky jobs. And to get thrown into Sailor Moon, it was a really, really hard process, because it was like karaoke, and it was dubbing, and it was all high energy and crazy. We didn't get the scripts ahead of time, so it was just all frantic. That when I would leave Sailor Moon, I would feel like, first of all, I'd be all sweaty and exhausted. But I feel like I really earned my keep. I felt like, yeah, I just played sports, because I play hockey, so it felt like that. I felt like leaving going, yeah, all right, I did it. Because it was really, really a
challenging.
Yes.
Okay, I have two questions, one leading to the second question. Do you guys go on Facebook there and see all the fan pages, whatnot, or YouTube and see all the banter, like parodies that they make on Sailor Moon?
Oh, yeah.
What's your impression on those?
Some of them are awesome. Some of them are a little off. I think they're hilarious. I love them. I love watching all that stuff. I think they're great. Yes.
What do you think of all of the stuff that you're approaching?
As a group.
Well, actually, we really didn't do it as a group. That's the thing. We did this singularly. We would go in one-on-one. Maybe there was a few times where I think some of the scouts would go in if there was heavy dialogue scenes, maybe once in a while. For the most time, it was just me with headphones, a microphone, a TV, this thing of words going by like analog karaoke. And you'd be in there for 3 hours, and then you'd like walk away going, what did I just say? I know I threw some shrubbery. There were some roses. I don't know what. I must have owned a florist shop or something. Rich. Maybe he's rich. The Tuxedo was a good hit. But yeah, no, we did it all alone. We never did anything together.
Sometimes, as Toby said, if, say, two of the characters had an intense dialogue, they would both be in together, but the whole procedure was you can't, when you record animation, be it EDR, the dubbing, or original voice animation, you can't have overlapping in the records. You have overlapping in the microphones, you can never separate it again. That's why it's all done now, pretty much all, 95% of the time. Individual people go in and record each individual role, top to tail, and then they're mixed together later. So it's actually the voice director's job to make sure that contextually they all work together because they don't hear each other talking. I'm the only one that, in my head, I hear voices.
Yes?
I was just curious, like, if you guys have done like ADR, or then if you've done prelay, and what's the differences that you find that might make it more fun in one or the other?
So that's a really good question because, pardon me, it's way more expensive to do original animation. And in the olden days, 20, 25 years ago, every single animated project that you did was usually done ensemble, meaning that all the actors would be in the room in the studio at the same time. And as John was saying, when he says you can't overlap, he means if two actors have a line, two lines, so if I say, hi, how are you? Great, just great. That's too close together. The two lines are too close together. So you always had to leave this pause when you were performing, right? So it really was not like being in the theater. In the theater, you've got to pick up those cues, like actors or in film work, you've got to keep the thing moving. Whereas when you were recording animation, there was always this pause between lines. So in that way, it took a little bit of the spontaneity out of it. However, once you got to say your line, you were saying it to the actual actor who was across the room from you or beside you. So nowadays, of course, it's much more expedient to just get the actor in there, in the room, by him or herself. So when you're laying down an original animation, you get to dictate the speed and the pace of the line. So let's say the line is, hi, I really like your red shirt. So that's my line, okay? So if it's original animation, I don't have a time clock in my head. I can say, hi, I really like your red shirt. I can say, or hi, I really like your red shirt. If it's already animated, that means I'm going to have to say it at exactly the speed that the character has said it. And oftentimes we find out that we had less than 1 second to say 14,000 words, right? So I'm looking at, I see how much time I've got, and I have enough time to say, hi, I really like your red shirt. And that's how much time I have. So you can hear that I don't have a lot of options when I'm dubbing. In fact, I have no options. My main option is to get it in on time. Whereas if it's original animation, I can have fun with it, right?
Yes, and they've also already drawn the picture of the dubbing. So they might be saying, hi, I really like your red shirt, but their face is like, I really like my shirt! Completely changes the way that you would say the line. Completely.
Just a little bit of information. The gentleman used the word prelay. That is simply another term for original voice. I've often found that sometimes it's a Canadian-American thing, that more Americans use the term prelay and Canadians use the term original voice. They both apply to the same thing. Dialogue done first, animation.
Hi. Okay, so I remember an episode, like in late 30s or something like that, where that guy with long brown hair, is Zoicide, or I can't remember his name exactly. The guy who turns good later on. Okay. He goes undercover and all that, and then he sees like Sailor Moon as Serena, and he's like, "Oh, get out of here! We don't want you here." And then later on, like literally 2 minutes after, she turns into Sailor Moon. He's like, "Sailor Moon, where did you come from?" So that really confused me because everyone keeps making the comments on her hair, which means that in the plot, it's a relevant thing. So then how come no one really knows that it's her when everyone knows that she's the only one with that sort of hair?
Okay, let's get also really bad guys are idiots.
You know what often happens, what happened in the show, when it went from Japanese to English, in all seriousness, but sometimes they would have to adjust because it was edited, because those shows had to be cut down and repieced together. You didn't always see it in the same order that the original Japanese was done. Sometimes the storyline had to be adjusted. There were all kinds of changes that were made from the original. So on occasion, they just, that the piece would just be put in, and sometimes the whole timeline would be wrong when you were recording. There's nothing we could do about it. It wasn't, in all honesty, a polished product when we revoiced it. It was done in a hurry, and it was done on a very, very low budget. And so, there are a lot of little glitches.
I have a question for John then. What's your favorite change that you guys have made, and what's your least favorite change that you guys have made?
My favorite
change that you had to make when you took it from the Japanese to the English. You said you had to piece it together.
Well, personally, I wasn't involved in the changing, but there were certain Japanese mores of men bathing with young girls and things like that, which are accepted in that culture. You can't do that. You couldn't do that today, even in North America, let alone 20-odd years ago. So it's not a matter of favorites, it's just a matter of certain things we knew as soon as we get them, if I ever got to see any of the original stuff, which was occasional. And it was only just for my own interest because I occasionally would say, "I don't know what's going on. Please help me." So they'd slide me a little bit of the original, which didn't really help much. But things like that would occur. Things like even today, you would get things like I directed the original Beyblade, was directing the original Beyblade, and the original animation, you've got kids with knives, right? You can't show that in North America, so they have to make an edit. It's difficult to reanimate, so sometimes they have to take a chunk out and therefore change the story, because the story may revolve around a kid with a knife, right? So when it was translated again, they'd have to adjust the story. And you can't have a kid in the background without a bicycle helmet. But there, it's fine. The original animation, it's fine to have somebody without a bicycle helmet. North America, the educators and your politically correct whatever say, there's a kid in the background there without a bike helmet on, right? It's a tricycle, it doesn't matter. So that's what you have to do.
And I can say too that the whole Uranus and Neptune thing,
Yeah.
when we were recording, I was going, what? They're cousins? They look like more than cousins. Those are kissing cousins. I was sitting there like for a lot of episodes. I'm like, what? Really? Oh, there's hearts. Several faces are going together. So that kind of confused me a little bit. And I went, oh, then they said, Linda, you're an idiot. Oh, well, why didn't they just, North America wasn't ready for it then. They're ready for it now, so that'll be interesting to see what they do with the new devil. They better keep it true, that's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna start this off because I have a cold. And, yeah.
Really?
None of these guys have heard about my cold.
We've been hearing
I'm a
about it for a
perfectionist,
week.
so when I get sick, it just kills me because I don't sound like me. It's very stressful. So I don't think I'm gonna scream the ignite part, but I will do my best. Bars, fire, ignite! And you have no idea how sad that I didn't do it. It just kills me.
Susan will make up for it.
Oh, wait, we hope so.
I liked that. It's a kind of like a sad.
Kills me.
You wouldn't say
no. It does.
I know. All right, Jupiter, thunder, crash.
New cosmic power!
Okay, I don't usually do this one, but I'll do something a little different. Here we go. Ha-ha! Take that, so excite!
I like it.
You waited for my battle cry. Do I have to have a battle cry? It would have been something like, that's a really crappy take!
Do you have a question? You look like you're ready to ask one. You said that the bad guys were idiots, but when Tuxedo Mask was there, he never realized that Serena Sailor Moon.
Who's just speaking? What a great voice
I
you
know,
have.
yeah.
Excellent voice. I love it. Love it.
Maybe the new...
And it was a really good point.
Yeah. Have you guys ever dressed up as your character? Ever?
We're going to next year, so come and check it out.
Red heels. I wear my red heels.
I did once, just last year, for a show called Fan Fiction, and it was a little bit bluer than normal script of Tuxedo Mask. It was basically Tuxedo Mask playing The Bachelor, and the Sailor Scouts were the contestants. And it was the first time that I dressed up in cosplay as Tuxedo Mask, and it may happen again.
Okay, I'm just saying that Toby and I are actually both doing this year, and they were writing back and forth, me saying, so, it's really going to be fun, you're really going to love this. We asked you to dress up as your character. I'm like, whoa, not going to happen, baby. Not going to happen. Very funny, nice try. He's like, oh, it's just the fans really love that. And everybody else dresses up, so we figured, I'm like, you're going to do this to me? And he's like, well, Toby does. I'm like, Toby's in a tuxedo! I'm naked! 3 baby body! Come on!
What? I have 3 kids.
It might happen. You back there? Okay, well this was just for Tuxedo Mask. Do you happen to remember a guy named Dan Bell?
I know Dan Fell.
He's my uncle and he says hi.
Get out of here! That's awesome. That's a very good friend of my brother's, and that's hilarious. Totally. Please say hi. And tell him he owes me $5. Remember, he won't serve him correctly, and he'll give it to me. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good number.
Why is that number?
Hi. If you were your character for one day, what would you do?
Notice we all went,
Well,
Next question.
I would would take that helmet off the wall, because I used to ride motorcycles. I'd go back on the motorcycle for one more day, because Tuxedo Mask also rode the Kawasaki Ninja, and that's cool. So I do that again, and then buy roses.
I walk around shooting fire arrows at everybody. No, I would not. I would save. I would eat everything I could, gain 100 pounds, and then lose it. Just like that.
I think that that's a really good question. I think actually it would be really fun to have 24 hours, maybe 12 hours just as Lita and then 12 hours as Jupiter. I think it would be really neat to have that kind of freedom. Because it seems to me that they were really free to be who they were with each other. And I love that. You know, that they wouldn't, if they felt pissed off at each other, they would say so. Like, what are you doing, guys? Like, that's really stupid. So, you know, it's just like right off the top of your head, knowing that they all have your back, right? I love that feeling. So I think that would be really fun to have that sense of freedom. And then to have that body, you know, 13 hours later, spinning around with those little green booties. All right, go out and kick some butt. I think it would be fantastic.
Some of you, like it was your first role. Over the years, you've obviously had multiple roles and you've increased your experience. So what would you bring from that experience to redo those roles? Would you be able to do them better? And like what techniques would you be able to use to make it better?
You know, that's a really great question. When I had to revisit Ray. It's very bizarre, but when I went and watched Sailor Moon, after not seeing it for years, we did this 20 years ago, and it was my very first series. In my head, after that, I did Totally Spies, where Alex has this really, really high voice, and it's just a very strange thing that I never redid Ray's voice. Because in my head, I thought, oh yeah, no, every cartoon I do is a certain thing, and going back to, and watching some of the earlier episodes of Sailor, you see what I do, I digress, and then I go through. Anyway, watching some of the earlier episodes of Sailor Moon, when Ray was just introduced, I could see, as an actor now, that I was just trying to do the lip flaps and just trying to find my voice, and she was pretty vanilla, like it was just pretty straight. And now, with the experience for all these years, it would be completely different. I feel like I would know who this person is long before going in, and it wouldn't just be about, okay, what was my voice again? Oh yeah, that was Serena, and I'm just, you know, it's just a very bizarre, I feel like we've all gained experience over 20 years to go back, and also dubbing's completely different. There's a little more freedom. We didn't have a lot of freedom with the dub, with the rhythm band. So I think it would be a lot more freedom.
I would also trust myself more, because I had a hard time, back then, you know, I had done a couple of animated series at that point, but I was still new at doing it. And so it took me a little while to really start trusting my instincts and trusting what I knew that I should be doing. And now, you know, going in to do an animated show, it's just like, okay, I know how to do it, this is where I'm going, and I take control. I completely take control of my character and what I want this character to be. And I let the director, you know, mold and shape me, but I know the line that I'm going. Whereas, you know, when you're first starting out, it's like, okay, yeah, oh, change that, whatever. So it would be really fun to go back and doing that, that's for sure.
Have you ever tried doing impressions of others who are within the house?
Nice Tuxedo Mask.
Answer your question.
How often do you go back and rewatch old episodes?
You guys?
Well, you know, I just started rewatching the series because my two daughters are 5 and 3, and I've just introduced them to the fact that I did Sailor Moon, and they're watching cartoons, obviously, so I introduced them to it slowly. And we're just a few episodes in because they had to realize, it was hard to explain to them that I was the voice of that guy, and they're they're listening to television and looking at me, and And then they, actually quite quickly they caught on to it, and now they run around the house. And in fact, the other day, they were fighting about something, and I look over at my 3-year-old saying, Sailor Jupiter, Sailor Jupiter, Sailor Jupiter. So she's just going crazy. She likes Sailor Jupiter. And my 5-year-old really likes Tuxedo Mask, so she just walked around the house with a bunch of saying, baby boy, baby boy. That's what I am right now, rewatching the series, and it's really interesting and fun to see because yeah, it's different. It's it's when you hear a recording of yourself, it's the same thing for us.
Hi, I have a question. So, are you guys willing to do like dubbing for another anime, or is this going to be a new Sailor Moon? So, are you guys willing to dub a new Sailor Moon? If it ever comes out.
I think we would. We already know that this is sort of off the table for us now for Sailor Moon, but I would definitely do it.
I still love hope.
Actors will never say no to anything.
Linda's right, work is work, you know. As an actor, if any of you have any aspirations, basically, if they're not going to beat you and they're going to pay you minimum wage, you say yes, right? Work is work. So, that said, this would be special, but definitely would be special to revisit it after all that time. But you do what, the phone rings, you answer it positively.
Yeah.
If you could dub any other TV show, just your own personal choice, what would it be?
Oh, 18. Figure the food up. You'd be fun to play. I don't know. Who would you?
I don't know. It's really scary taking on voice that's already been done. Yeah. And I can say that out of experience. It's really, really scary. So it's hard to I would love to be an original voice in The Simpsons, in a heartbeat, or, Family Guy or something like that. Are you kidding me? Getting one of those ones is like, oh, yeah. And as actors, every animated series you do, you're like, is this the one? Is this the one? Is this going to be the next one? But we're lucky because we have Sailor Moon in our back pocket. So, we may find another one that's humongous and goes like crazy, but we've always got Sailor Moon. With the wand.
So, while you guys were recording, just wondering if any of your voices still there at home.
Yeah. Maybe not as much for Ray, but after that I did a series called Max and Ruby, and Ruby it was so obnoxious. I have to say, her voice was ridiculously high, saccharine, and awful, and whatever. And also she was really mean to her brother. It just seemed bizarre. Where are the parents? Really, where are the parents? So anyway, but I would do hours of that, and because it was right in my throat the whole time because it's so high, I would leave there and sound like Mickey Mouse. And it would take me about 3 hours of drinking water. I'd get home and I'd be like, hi guys, I can't do it because I have a cold, but hi, how's it going? And I'd be talking like this and I could just see, my husband would be looking at me, we don't need to go out right now. Drink some water, Katie. Here's a Jack Daniels. And I was saying yesterday too in our panel that when they were doing it, every little eye movement we did, or anytime we turn our heads, any movement we did, they made us make a sound for us, just in case they needed it. So if Sailor Moon sort of looked over like this, you go, ooh. Ooh. Like every single day. So I got into that habit, like you'd be watching like crazy, like ooh. And so when I got home, when my kids would say, is this what we're having for dinner? I go, ooh. I was constantly doing that. And then my little 1-year-old started doing it too. She's like,
Anybody? Yes.
Why were Ray and Serena always different?
Because they loved each other. She was sisters. You're such a it's ridiculous. When I was a sister and we're we're best friends and we're super close. And I actually feel like regardless, all the characters, including Ray and Serena, had each other's backs. So when they would fight, it didn't matter because they loved each other, and and as Susan said earlier, they were honest with each other. They wouldn't hold grudges. They would just, as soon as Serena would just start talking about food completely out of the blue, it would frustrate Ray. There were more important things to talk about. So yeah, that's why. So they fought, but they loved each other. That's how I have to live with it. Just like me and my husband. I say to him, I hate you, you drive me crazy, I hate you. But it's okay, honey, you have to love someone in order to hate.
Yes.
If you got the chance to dub one of the most recent animes of you, and so which one would you do?
Attack on Titan, maybe. Every single voice.
I wish I'd gotten Pokemon 12 years ago. Oh, a great game. The one that never ends. 850 characters later.
This is mostly for Tuxedo Mask. Did you enjoy kind of just coming in at the most random and unhelpful time? And just be really mysterious and be like, I exist, Sailor Moon.
Yeah. Really recently, I've been told several times how useless I was. And I never really figured. I was like, he was really late to the game. I mean, things were already in the mix, and he'd just kind of show up in a nice suit and throw down some roses and make sure everything's good. And it's like, he really didn't do anything. It's pretty awesome. There's a lesson there, guys.
Go ahead. Sure. Yeah, please.
I don't know if you might know this, but in Japan, the color red is seen as the color for bleeder, right? As you see the old Sentai series.
Go straight to her head.
But in Sailor Moon, it's not the case. So is there an actual reason that you know of that was the case as to why that color? Because it came from Japan. So culturally, it's
Well, roses are red.
Violets are blue. I think we got something here.
We'll meet later.
I have an interesting thing. I was reading some just random information about Sailor Moon, as I occasionally do when I drink a lot. And apparently, believe it or not, the original name for the series was Sailor V. Before it was Sailor Moon.
Sailor Well, that's because it's Sailor Moon.
Pardon?
We have a manga series for Sailor V. It's before Sailor Moon.
Right.
And it's where she's off on her own before she becomes Sailor V.
Yeah, and it was the sort of the genesis for Sailor Moon, wasn't it? Yeah.
Before she became Sailor Venus? Or?
Yeah. Before she becomes Sailor Venus.
That's why she has her own cat.
It's why she's
Did you she has her own
things like that.
We don't know anything.
Question right through there.
So this is for Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah.
So if the character Tuxedo Mask wasn't forced to be with Sailor Moon, who would you want to be with?
I can leave if you need me to.
But I can leave if you need me to. But don't just look down there.
Once and for all, Melvin. No, let's be honest. It'll probably be Mars.
She's wearing red heels. I mean, it's really hard to argue with that.
Did you guys ever read any of the Sailor Moon fan fiction?
Well, that's kind of what Toby and I are going to be doing in another week or so. We're going to be reading the fan fiction out loud. Me, dressed as Sailor Moon. What if I signed myself up? I don't
It's
know.
good. Apparently we have one last question, guys. Truly.
Make it a good one. Got it.
No, yeah.
For Tuxedo Mask,
I know.
what age were you playing him as?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. Me personally, I didn't want to play him as old as he, because she was like a schoolgirl and he was basically a college student, right? Yeah, you're right, it's creepy. I just looked at it, I tried to take the age off it, and in fact, when we were doing the series, it wasn't really that apparent, as different as it was, but yeah, he was definitely older, and I just chalked it up to maybe they just held hands for a long time.
I think we're, my lunch isn't working the way I looked at it. I think we are,
Another minute?
do we have another minute? Sorry?
A minute?
You got like one or two more questions.
Oh, great, okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
He's interested.
Right over there, yeah.
Okay, we got
Right down
Ross.
the jacket, yeah.
My sister is like obsessed with you guys and everything. Like we've been watching you guys since we were small. And she was really upset that she couldn't make it today. So can you guys just say hi to her? Her name is Vanessa.
Vanessa?
1, 2, 3.
Hi, Vanessa!
Just going back to the age thing, for all of you, do you ever like go into the character and look at how they looked and go, is she really 14? Like, am I really playing 14-year-old? Like, is this really a 14-year-old?
You know, that's so strange. I don't think I ever once thought about how old any of them were. It's weird. It never crossed my mind. I guess when you say 14 too, I always thought that they were a bit, well, certainly when they transformed, they were like, 39. What happened here? You get a little spin and suddenly, the whole world opens up. But when they were so it seems as if they were, younger when they're in their normal life. But I always thought in my mind, 15, 16. That's where my mind was.
So that's the first year of high school, or like the last year of middle school, so they're really 14 and 13 when the series first starts.
But, so you're a very logical person. So I'm not, and I just sort of thought, 16 sounds good. And it's funny, when Tuxedo Mask would come in, I thought that he was just, Arrested Development. He was like 17 or 18, and he was so stupid they kept him back.
What's really funny though is now I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I would look at this and go, like I look back then and go, yeah, that's what 14 looks like, all right. And now my 14-year-old daughter, 5'9", legs to my underarms, long blonde hair. I'm like, really? How did I do that?
Guys, time to go.
Sorry,
Sorry,